All right. Hello, everyone. And we're back with another event strategy video. Today, we're talking with Val Lago from Ivan, who is the manager of events. Val, so what we're doing here is we're trying to get people practical advice on their event strategy. So a lot of people don't know how to operate events, especially in the startup space. They don't know which events to attend or go to. So you have run events for not only Ivan for the last few years, but also Percona previous to that. So I am curious, when you are evaluating an event to either sponsor or do something with, whether it's just attend, whatnot, what kind of criteria do you use to figure out which event or conference you should go to?
So I think it's really important first to get your goals and budget, because that really defines a lot of what you even look into in the first place. Like depending on, of course, like what you want to achieve, but also how much money you have. That will change. Like there's some conferences that you will not even look into, so that's really important. And then depending on your goals and the people you want to reach out to, it's in general like what I look into in terms of audience mainly. Like will I meet there, or will the team meet there with the people they actually want to talk to? So basically, for the types of companies that I've worked for, that's either, people who may sign a contract or make a decision, and we can talk to about, how we can help them with their business, or technical people who may be like sponsoring us in an opportunity, or, getting to know us better and figuring out if they are interested in knowing more.
And so, from a Ivan perspective, those types of people, are they more on the developer side or more on the infrastructure side, or a little bit of both? When you're targeting, you're looking at how many developers or what sort of developers are there. Is that sort of the criteria you use?
Yeah, I would say both. Like, yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
And you mentioned goals. So I'll jump right over to goals real quick. So when you are evaluating goals and outcomes for a conference, what sort of goals do you look for? Are there multiple goals for different types of conferences, and what are they? Can you tell us maybe, is it for a specific thing or not?
Yeah, and that's something I've been trying to, achieve with when we plan to attend a conference. Sometimes, like if you look it from, of course, like a sales perspective, then the goal is going to be mainly, pipeline and leads. But then there's usually people from the hiring teams, looking into other conferences to find leads for them to interview for a role. Then there's the branding side, or the brand awareness side, employer branding. So what I like to do is like make really the most out of our participation in any conference. So I like to have like more than one area like looked into, and it's not only getting leads or thought leadership. So um, like hopefully you find a conference that gives you the opportunity to speak, and also like talk to possible prospects, and also have someone maybe from the hiring team, talk to the audience and see if they are interested in a position at your company. So like the most areas I can or boxes we can check with one conference, the better, I think.
Now, do you have concrete measurements going in that are tied to those goals? Do you go in saying, you mentioned like hiring, do you go in mentioning we want to have like 5 people that we talk to about hiring, or we want to scan so many badges, or we want to have so many sales conversations? Are those things that you come up with an idea or a list for?
Yeah, yeah, and that's something I think it's important even in like the earlier stages of planning. Like most conferences are quite expensive, either to sponsor or to produce if you produce your own. So it's important to know, this is something we can talk about with these people, and they are going to be interested because of this and that. Uh, and also, like, of course, there's the aim of making your brand better known in the industry, and that's, I would say, more difficult to measure because brand awareness, like, I mean, of course you have like footfall, but then you're not going to scan like each and every person that go through your booth, but just the people that you actually have conversations and think, the relationship can move forward. And then I like to see also, like, with Ivan, for example, we have like this discounts to try our tool. So then that's something I like to look into. Like, we have like a specific code for each event, so that gives you also like more or less an idea of if there was interest based on that. And then if maybe more people looked at our website during the duration of the conference. But it's like very generic, like it's very difficult to say like this is the amount of awareness that we got out of this event. Then of course the easier ones to measure would be like number of leads, and then pipeline, like, and close deals. But that also like takes usually longer, like may even take even a year, to see some results from that person that you met, because it doesn't usually happen that you meet someone at the booth and they are, oh, of course, let's close the deal, or let's,
Yeah.
it takes time. So they get to meet you, you have like several other meetings, they come and go. So it takes longer, but then at the same time, it's easier to measure, like in terms of amount of money or leads, or yeah.
So with you mentioned a couple things, and I want to ask a quick question. You mentioned, obviously there's generally a budget for these events, and it's not unlimited for most companies. Some companies it seems unlimited, but for most it's not. You also mentioned that, sometimes the goals, you have to define those up front. When you are looking at the conferences you've never attended, you don't necessarily have an idea of what those goals will be. Is there any advice that you could give people for maybe you're going to try a new conference, you've never tried it before? What do you look for out of that conference if it's new and it's something you've never done? Is it something that you have a strategy for it, going towards those first? Or is there something that you do to kind of draw a line around what you think will happen?
Well, I rely a lot on, so we have this great opportunity, which is like we work with people who attend those conferences. So it's easier
Okay.
for us, to ask around, be like, hey, what do you think of this or that? And people in general are fortunately like quite willing to also share their opinions. I think it's really important also to have like your community of event organizers in the field that you can go to and be like, hey, what do you think of this and that? And then, like, I would say that for new conferences, so not conferences that I haven't been to, but like new conferences, like we had last year, Uptime, it's really difficult for you to show people, the value. And I think the focus definitely needs to be on content. So once you have your agenda and speakers, then it's easier also, like for me, as an organizer, to look into the content, and then of course meet with the team and hear what they have to say about what they are planning, what their aim is. So there you get like a better idea of like what the path will be, or more or less like what it's going to look like. But it's hard,
So,
I would say, to
yeah.
make a decision to like, let's go to this new conference. Also like to convince, of course, your managers and
Yeah.
stuff to invest in those.
So when you are talking about conferences, we talk about conference, we often assume sponsorship, but there are other activities that you can do outside of sponsorship or in conjunction, because sometimes you'll run multiple activities. So what sort of other activities have you tried and have been successful with outside of just sponsoring and having a booth at a conference?
So we have, I've organized webinars, not for Ivan, I would say, but for Percona, definitely. And I think they work really well. Um, Again, like if you have good content, they usually work well because you give people like the opportunity to actually maybe hear speakers that they wouldn't be able to otherwise because they cannot travel, or it's too expensive. So if you have like good content and you think of having them or hosting them like in time frames that people can actually attend. Those usually work really well. Then we have hosted also like our own events. Um, and the focus there, I think, needs to be definitely on the community. And then while sponsoring company events, we have also, hosted breakfasts or picnics or dinners, like, and in those cases, I try to think like the simpler the better, because there's already like this huge event going on. So I would say good food is really important in most cases.
Okay.
And then, I mean, I think it is. I really think it is. Like, and giving this opportunity for people to get together outside the expo hall, and being able to have like these longer conversations, but in a very comfortable space with, as I said, like good food, good drinks, some fun around, and then keep it simple. Like we have done, even as I said, like picnics, and just like a mat on the grass and some. So we provided them with some mugs and some refreshments, and that was super popular as well. So yeah, I mean, you don't need to complicate it a lot, but there's a lot you can do around like these bigger conferences that fortunately, like, I don't know, KubeCon, for example, you have like 1 week of people going back and forth in different events. So there's a lot of opportunity to do stuff around it.
Awesome. Well, Val, thanks for, sharing your knowledge and, letting us know a little bit about, event strategy from your perspective and what you've been working on. I appreciate you sharing it.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.